All right, Dr. Sargent, it's a great pleasure that we have the chance to have this discussion today. So from a long-term and short-term perspective, how would you analyze the impact of the tariffs on a nation's economic welfare?
High tariffs on the United States, if we impose them, they're going to be bad for the United States. We had high tariffs before. They were bad then. Well, tariffs and trade quotas that could go along with them, what do? They protect particular producers in our country from competition, and they give them kind of local monopolies. Economists do not like monopolies. Very good American economist he's in the Federal Reserve in Minneapolis. He's done studies about, in the 1970s, the United States had tariffs and trade quotas on particular products. One was iron ore, believe it or not. And those tariffs were so high, and it's kind of a tariff with a quota. They were so high that there was a monopoly, and it was in Minnesota. As a result of that, it was a monopoly. It was very inefficient. It was a combination of inefficient labor and inefficient management. They had no incentive to compete.
Right.
Okay, they took the tariffs off because of some various people bought a free trade argument, like that the United States was pushing after World War II. Took a long time, but they took them off. When they took them off, suddenly that company didn't have a monopoly and had to compete, and various U.S. Companies started importing iron ore from Brazil and other places. And guess what? That company, it changed the labor rules. It became much more efficient. Productivity went up. Prices went down.
Right.
Who did that help? That helped almost everybody in the United States and elsewhere. Right. It hurt a few people. It hurt those managers of that company and the labor union with that company, the few workers. It helped a very small number of people at the cost of the society as a whole.
So how do firms adjust their expectations to this negative tariff uncertainty? Does rational expectations theory still explain current corporate investment behaviors?
So this is a great question. It's actually a deep question. So the so-called rational expectations theory, it's actually not what it is. It's an hypothesis that's made to look. Economists are like guys like myself. We build artificial economies with people in it that are like you and me, and they're making decisions about the future. And just like you said, if they're making decisions about the future, they have to have some view of the future about how things are going to unfold.
Right.
Okay, the fun thing is how things are going to unfold. It's like a big game. How things are going to unfold depend on what both of us are going to do and about what both of us think about the future.
Right.
That can get really complicated. Your beliefs matter, my beliefs matter. So the idea of rational expectations is, I like to say it's communism of a certain kind. It's that things have settled down so that things like about government policy, they're kind of predictable. And you and I kind of share the same prediction of them. Why? Because, well, it's been regular in the past. It's going to, there's some reliable things. So rational expectations is kind of, we all agree about that. And we agree because the government set a policy that we kind of can forecast.
Right.
Now, your question, well, what if it's just chaos and smoke and, smoke bombs all over and I'm going to do this this day? And, well, that means it creates a lot of uncertainty. And you can kind of read you can read about, you can see it in the data about the example would be, you look at imports and ships, cargo ships arriving in U.S. ports. U.S. the last few months, it's just huge surge of imports because we're trying to, but now that's dried up because
since it's still when it's still cheap. Right?
Yeah, you're betting on. So you say, I'm going to put these tariffs on in 3 months, and I say, 3 months coming. I was just kidding. That creates great chaos.
Along this line, so when the trade tension escalate, the central banks, which I'm very curious, because there seems to be a lot of argument between the president and the chairman of the Fed recently. So the central banks face a dilemma between stabilizing inflation and supporting growth. So how should monetary policy balance these priorities?
So one thing Milton Friedman said a long time ago, it was about this trade-off. He said, Milton Friedman just he was a great economist in the 20th century.
Right.
Actually came to China and was very high on China. Almost 60 years ago, he said, it can't do both. It's not feasible for it to do, actually, it's not even feasible. At most, it can do one. And that is, if it does the right thing, it can control inflation. It cannot control unemployment.
Right.
So now, its job has gotten much, much harder. You could ask the same thing in China. Well, the United States did not have a Federal Reserve until about 110 years ago. Instead, you could say this was Trump's dream or his nightmare. From the start of our country until 1914, that's almost 150 years, the Congress ran monetary policy.
So they vote on it?
Yeah.
They vote on monetary policy.
Yeah.
I see. That's interesting.
They designed every bond. They designed the money. They did that. And guess what? It was a pain. It was a pain. People would come. We think money should be increasing. We should think it should be decreasing. All these people. The congressman, basically, the idea is, congressman said, we're going to hand this to an independent agency. It's your problem. And you tell the public, go blame him.
I see.
Okay, go blame him. And it's independent. It's not really independent but you go run it.
Right.
And don't come to me. So the congressman, they did that. No. They did that for a reason. They don't want...
Take the blame.
They also did, our Constitution says, our Constitution, if you read the U.S. Constitution, we say we run by rules, written rules. It's not actually true. There's written rules, but then there's the Constitution, and then the Congress over the years has written exceptions. So the Constitution says that the Congress sets taxes, not the president. It sets tariffs, not the president. What's happened in the last 80 years is Congress has gradually said setting tariffs is really a pain because all these manufacturers come to me and say, I want you to impose a tariff and give me right. So they got tired. They started delegating it. Yeah. And anyway, that's kind of how we got into this. Oh, tariffs aren't the reason there's inflation. It's because the Fed's not doing the right thing. So the Fed was, I had a Fed official explain this to me. Tom, you don't really understand why the Fed was put together. You think it's there to optimally control it. That's not why. It's there to take the blame.
Great. All right. Thank you very much for the discussion today, and we learned a lot from your insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you.